Right. I want to do a video on Tyler Seguin. As I'm recording this, Dallas about to head into the Stanley Cup Finals tonight. And there's a lot of talk about how Seguin could be the guy. He could be the difference maker between whether Dallas could win that series against Tampa or lose. And I'm wearing my Boston Bruins Tyler Seguin jersey, which I got for dirt cheap from Full Moon Jerseys, Full Moon on eBay. And the jersey I got dirt cheap because I guess Bruins fans don't like to be reminded of the Tyler Seguin trade anymore. As a fan of both Boston and Dallas, it's fine. It's fine. I don't know that if Seguin had stayed in Boston that would have made things necessarily better for the Bruins because you would have had more cap problems. There would have been more players who would have had to be jettisoned off. And I don't know that Seguin would have been happy as a number two center behind Bergeron and or how that would have worked with the Krejci contract being as it's been. So go ahead and kick that down the road. I don't have the Seguin trade on the board because I don't think that's as key for today. Where we're going to look at his career, starting out with when he's drafted number 2 overall by Boston in 2010, right after Taylor Hall. And the debate of Taylor and Tyler, we can still have that now. Between the two, I don't know. I don't know whether you can argue Taylor or Tyler because Taylor has won a Hart Trophy. Tyler is not. Tyler Seguin, as a cup ring, was not a key performer for that Stanley Cup ring. And so that's your argument one way or the other. We talk a lot about players who don't end up in the Hall of Fame, who otherwise maybe you look at him and think, how did that guy not get into the Hall? He's got the numbers for it. And the argument that comes back is he wasn't necessarily dominant at the NHL level. He didn't really have those big years, or he didn't win enough championships. So Tyler Seguin, if he wins this Stanley Cup, and especially if he is a key performer for Dallas in winning said Stanley Cup, that could be potentially huge for his chances to get into the Hall of Fame when he retires. He's had a lot of all-star games over his career, 2012, 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 2020. So 6 of those. 1 is a member of the Boston Bruins, and the other 5 is a member of the Dallas Stars. And his career really took off when he went to Dallas. And I think, Taylor, see, now I talked about Taylor Hall, so I'm going to say Taylor by accident. Tyler Seguin, I really think has matured as a member of the Dallas Stars. So we'll start off with Boston. 2010-2011, played 74 games and played limited minutes. 11 goals, 11 assists, 22 points. And Boston Bruins fans, myself included, not happy with how Claude Julien was deploying him. Played 13 games in the playoffs, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. He does get a cup ring. But I honestly thought he should have been in the lineup more than he was. I was surprised at how often he was a healthy scratch. And he was excellent when he was in the lineup, and I couldn't figure out why he wasn't out there more often. 2011-2012, his second year, when he's given the ice time, he exceeds expectations in a second year. 81 games, I should say, 29 goals, 38 assists, 67 points. In the playoffs, Boston's knocked out early, plays 7 games, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. So, his third and final season in Boston is the lockout shortened season. 48 games, 16 goals, 16 assists, 32 points. And in the playoffs, they go all the way to the finals. 22 games for him, only 1 goal and 7 assists and 8 points. And there was criticism of Seguin at the time, and I remember thinking, he's only after his third year. Let's not criticize the kid too much yet. He's got a lot of growth yet to experience. He's going to go through. He's going to get better. He's going to get better. He's going to get more mature. Boston, and there were a lot of rumors about why they made the move, but they did move him to Dallas, and one of those reasons may very well have been a maturity issue, where they say, no, he's just not the character we're looking for in the locker room. He gets to Dallas, and what's interesting is, as a Dallas Star, I think he gets it. I think he understands if that was part of the reason he was traded. Well, that hasn't been a problem for Dallas. He formed Seguin Stars while in Dallas, and it is a charity focused on physical, emotional, and social youth development, and built a ball hockey court as well in Collins County. So he has been very supportive of the community. And he's had his own charity, and he's also got his own line of merchandise, including hats and all that with the TS logo and all this. He's very adept at marketing and at figuring things out, and seems to have the intelligence to get through some of the stuff that sometimes younger players don't. There are players who go through some, the partying stage at an early age and don't really come out of it, or don't come out of it well. Seguin seems to have done that. He really matured, and it's changed in Dallas. His first year in Dallas, it showed. And this is where we can have the debate, and I don't know. Maybe if Boston doesn't trade him, maybe he stays at that level. Maybe he doesn't become the better player that he became in Dallas. 80 games that first year in Dallas, 37 goals, 47 assists, 84 points. He was 4th overall in points in the NHL and 5th in goals. Hart voting, he was number 6 that year. Plays in the playoffs, 6 games, 1 goal, 2 assists, and 3 points. 2014-2015 and 71 games for Dallas. 37 goals, which was 5th overall in the NHL. Same as it was the year before. He's 5th in goals. 40 assists, 77 points, which was 7th. So he's top 10 in scoring 2 years in a row. Solid numbers. Very, very solid numbers. And this is where, again, I think we'll have that debate someday about good or great. And that's the line when you look at a guy's career about whether or not you see them being in the Hall and giving that great acceptance speech after they've retired. So in 15-16, 72 games, 33 goals, 40 assists, 73 points. He's 10th in goal scoring in the NHL that year. Plays 1 playoff game, no scoring. And then, the scoring has been inconsistent throughout. 16-17, 82 games, 26 goals, 46 assists, 72 points that year. The following year, huge bounce back. 2017-2018, 82 games, 40 goals, 38 assists, 78 points. And with those 40 goals, he was number 7 overall in the NHL. So he's been top 10 in goal scoring 4 times. 4. He's been top 10 in scoring in the NHL points-wise twice. And so again, you've got really solid totals, but he's not a guy who gets a ton of votes for the Hart. He's not a guy who gets a ton of votes for Lady Bing. He doesn't get Selke votes. And so excellent top 2 center on a team in Dallas that was definitely having its struggles. Notice they'd only made the playoffs once in those 4 seasons. The following year, 2018-2019, 82 games, 33 goals, 47 assists, 80 points. And the end totals were good, but the consistency was still a problem. And this, of course, Jim Lights came out and had his statement about Seguin and Ben. And at the time, as a Dallas fan, I understood where he was coming from. In the playoffs, 13 games played, 4 goals, 7 assists, and 11 points. So in the playoffs, pretty good totals. Pretty good playoff totals from Seguin as Dallas went to the second round. Now this season, 69 games played, only 17 goals, 33 assists, 50 points. Even if they'd played those other 13 games, you have to think he would have put up the lowest goal total that he had in any given season since the lockout shortened 2012-2013 season. Goals per game, the lowest since his rookie season when he scored 11. So that's something that definitely was alarming this year. 33 assists, 50 points. The points per game was down as well. But in the playoffs, while he has 20 games, 2 goals, 6 assists, and 8 points, it's been different. Because in the playoffs, to me, he's looked injured. To me, he's looked like there's something going on with his shooting, that he's not getting those shots off. When he does, they don't quite have the zip they normally do. Now, his totals as a member of the Bruins, 203 games, 56 goals, 65 assists, 121 points. Yes, Boston traded him before he became what he is now. In Dallas, 538 games, 223 goals, 291 assists for 514 points. Now, I would point out neither team has won a Stanley Cup since 2011, so you can't use championships to argue that Boston necessarily has been hard done by since they traded Seguin. But it also argues that it's Dallas become any kind of juggernaut with him there. I'm trying to think of the exact word, and juggernaut is probably not the right word. But they've made the playoffs 4 times while he's been there. And this year, it feels like Seguin could take that step, and his overall legacy could be changed. He's played 82 career playoff games, including this season. 13 goals, 27 assists, 40 points. Again, I'm recording this before the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm doing that for a reason. 741 career regular season games, 279 goals, 356 assists, 635 points. There's a Mark Recchi rule, I think, when it comes to your Hall of Famers. Mark Recchi played a very long time. He put up pretty good point totals overall. Not really a Hart Trophy winner, not a guy who won Art Ross trophies, but he won championships. He won championships in Pittsburgh, Carolina, and Boston. If Tyler Seguin follows up this cup ring here with a cup ring 9 years later in Dallas, that probably enhances his chances of becoming a Hall of Famer when he retires. If he's a prominent player this time around, that definitely helps. One thing that I do wonder, and you see this every now and then, where a guy will be a Hall of Famer and he'll have a bunch of cup rings, and in the back of my mind I think, but he wasn't really prominent on a cup. If I remember, if I'm old enough to remember, in the case of certain Hall of Famers, I'll think, well, he wasn't really that prominent on those cup championship teams. So I don't know that all cup rings are created equal, and that's a question I guess we can ask for this video. If Dallas wins the Stanley Cup, and if he's still sitting at 2 goals, do we look at that and say that's an argument in favor of him getting into the Hall, or do we look at that and say, probably not? And again, when you look at the 635 points in 741 games that he has, you have to look at the era he's played through and the fact that goal scoring wasn't 80s level for most of it. But it has come up in recent seasons, and his scoring hasn't necessarily. And I don't know. I don't know if I look at Tyler Seguin right now and I say, this is a kid who's going to end up being a Hall of Famer when he retires or not. And in the case of the Dallas Stars, I mean, I'd love to see them win a Stanley Cup this year. I would not be surprised if Tampa takes them out. But his legacy is one that I think is going to be debated for a long time. Because I think when he was drafted, I think the idea was that he was maybe a franchise center you build around. And I'm not sure that looking at Seguin's body of work, I mean, I see a first-line center. I see a good first-line center. But when we talk about franchise players, has that been Seguin for Dallas or not? And I don't know that I have the answer to that. So I posed the question to you, the viewer, regarding Tyler Seguin and the question of whether or not you look at him as a franchise player, as the guy who makes that franchise better, or if you look at him as just a really good first-line center. And then the Hall of Fame question. Yes? No? Does winning a Stanley Cup ring this year change that addition/subtraction that you make when you're trying to figure out who does or doesn't make the Hall? His career, honestly, has been fascinating. And I think it's been one of the more interesting careers of the last decade, because his points totals do vary widely, and I think the expectations for Seguin have very often exceeded what he actually has achieved to this date. But I think part of that is, I think there's overrating with Seguin that takes place. Now, I don't do videos on which players are overrated and not, because I think once you've labeled a player as overrated, it makes it sound like you're hating on the player. I'm not trying to hate on Tyler Seguin. I think that there have been times where, he has a 40-goal season, and all right, he's a 40-goal scorer. Well, he scored the 40 goals once. I think there are some who expect more from Seguin than he's necessarily going to provide scoring-wise. Still, very good primary scorer. Had a bit of a down year. He can make up for that now with a strong Stanley Cup Finals and maybe get himself a cup ring. So let me know your thoughts regarding Tyler Seguin in the comment section below. Again, I think he's one of the more interesting players to talk about in the NHL. And I do, salute him for having his own charity and for being, active in the community. And it's always nice to see hockey players do that. So let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.